This week on the Droids, we're going to talk about the breaking news that Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige and producer extraordinaire is developing a Star Wars movie. Welcome back to the Droids. You're looking for a Star Wars podcast. I'm back, baby. Nobody missed me. It seemed like I was only gone for one episode, but I've been out of the country for a while. I'm Sam, and alongside Chris nobody else.
I feel a presence that I haven't felt in a long, long time.
How you been, buddy?
Been doing well. We missed you here at the pod. Some exciting things happened while you were gone. We had that interview with Mr. Steve Sansweet from Rancho Obi-Wan. And then we kind of took a breather. We thought that you were the lifeblood of the pod. And we just,
lots been going on.
We weren't sure if you were coming back.
I do want to give a signature Droids tip of the cat to Mike. That was really awesome. For a peek behind the curtain. Yeah. He kept that a secret from us.
Yeah,
we didn't know that was coming. He just sent us a message and said, "Guys, I got a nice exclusive interview for the pod," and it was great. Really, I thought it came out great. I thought it was really professional, and I loved Mike's questions. And I thought Steve Sansweet was super sweet.
What a nice
to listen to.
What a nice pre-Life Day surprise from Mike. That was really nice. And if you want to listen to that, go back. It's just a week ago. It's a shorty. It's only about 15-20 minutes, so have a listen. There's some good stuff there. And then again, if you can, make it out to the museum. You can book tours and that kind of thing. RanchoObi1.com.
We'll make sure to I think it's .org, RanchoObi1.org.
Yep, that's what I said.
We'll definitely throw up a link for folks who want to make a contribution or donate. It's a really cool thing, as Steve said in his interview. It was something that kind of came out of it. It was a second career for him. It was something that he never expected, and it's this great nonprofit that exists as a cool place for fans and anybody who wants to see a different piece of the Star Wars history that you don't get on screen.
I was thinking about this after I listened to it too. It's kind of neat how Star Wars can have these like multi channels of multi like media. Like, right, there's a whole world of people that, I mean, I'm sure he's just as interested in the movies as we are, but there is this whole kind of like collector's world of Star Wars pop culture, which to some people may have even more meaning than the movies. So it's really neat to see that all in one place and kind of collected as a tribute almost to Star Wars.
It's great. It's a great place. Go support it. Go check it out. Visit if you can. But Chris, that's last week, my man.
I know.
This week,
let's move on.
We've got a lot of news. We're actually gonna wait till we have a full sabacc deck to all the droids here to talk about. There's been a lot coming out. There was, Bob Iger has commented a lot on the development of the sort of the new franchise, the sequel trilogy and standalone movies that have come out in the Disney era. But we're going to save all that news. And today we're just doing a short dispatch about the breaking news, which Kevin Feige is going to make a Star Wars movie.
It's pretty exciting.
I think it's incredibly exciting. I think listeners of the pod know that we're big Feige fans. We're big Marvel shills, as they say.
Corporate shills, if you will.
But no, I mean, Kevin Feige is he's a unique producer. He's done something radically new in the film space, and he did it at a time when movies. It was interesting, I think, what he managed to do with those Marvel movies in an era where the sort of prevailing wisdom from everybody seemed to be that that TV was where it's at, you know, and certainly we're in, you know, a golden or silver or whatever age of TV.
What is the age of television? When has it not been golden? Apparently,
who cares? Who cares? Also, it's usually like whatever. I don't know. I don't know what those things mean, but we're in a good age of television, and certainly that's true. And somehow through that, he's kind of like the only person who's rivaled Pixar with like repeated success, both at the box office and in terms of a loyal fan following who really enjoys the movies. And I think it boils down to, you know, he's a guy who is really passionate about the material, and he happens to be just someone who is programmed, the type of personality who can actually run productions on this scale. So what do you think's gonna happen? What do you think he's gonna do?
I'm just excited that he was able to prove himself by making 20 kind of small student type films for Lucasfilm. So now he can finally make like a real movie at Lucasfilm. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I don't want to call him an effects director, but I mean, he is to a large part an effects director, which is obviously perfect for Star Wars. Like I feel like Marvel in itself is a very kind of creative space where anything is literally possible. There's different universes, different timelines, and he's very creative on that front. So I'm excited to see if he takes a more comic book type approach to Star Wars, given his roots kind of in Star Wars does have this kind of comic lore. Or if we see him, maybe he uses this as an opportunity to get a little more specific. Maybe he does more of a kind of a mythos story, borrowing from the books, or maybe he just comes up with his own thing. I mean, this guy's a storyteller in every sense of the word, and his team and his crew knows how to basically translate things. So I'm interested to see if he's going to be working on his own material or adapting something.
I'm interested in that as well. I mean, I guess, there's a few things you hit on there. I mean, he knows how to run a production for, you know, massive movies with huge effects budgets that are tied into a broader story. So all of that is like exactly what you want for Star Wars, which is really exciting. He has said a number of times, like throughout all of his career as a producer, he's talked about how Star Wars, you know, he's one of those people from the generation where it was like Star Wars is what made him go into film. He's a huge fan. He's a collector. So, you know, I think that's all really interesting. I'm really excited at like the stable of talent he's built around the Marvel movies, and having, I mean, I suppose Disney already has access to that pool, right? Because it's all under the House of Mouse,
right? Yeah.
But I do think that, you know, Kevin Feige has a personal relationship with all of the actors from the Marvel movies, and with all of the writers and directors who've made Marvel movies. And I just think it's really, really exciting when you start looking at that pool, at, you know, who you might like to see make a Star Wars movie, who you might like to see be in a Star Wars movie. Right. Zendaya is who I would cast.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but like, I think it's really, really potentially exciting. And it sounds like it's going to be, well, actually, sorry, I was reading an article that said there's really no direction of whether they know if he's going to be working with Rian Johnson, if he's going to be working with Benioff and Weiss, or if this is, it sounds kind of like it's his own solo thing that he's developing.
Right.
And that's that would be the version that has me most excited. Something completely standalone.
And they don't have
that's
him.
What I want to see from them right now.
They don't have him listed as a director, right? That's not
correct.
He's just it's going to be under his executive leadership.
Yeah. He's going to be producing, and it sounds like Kathleen Kennedy will still be a producer on it as well. I guess that's the only other thing to really sort of talk about or address as like potentially in this news, which is that, you know, there's people have speculated, well, what's happening with Kathleen Kennedy? You know, have these movies been successful enough there are corners of the media and corners of the internet that question her being the right steward of the Star Wars franchise for Lucasfilm. I think I speak for the pod. We all feel she is. She's been there. She's been amazing. And this, I would say this is not an indication, I don't think, of anything
like a changing of the guard or anything.
Yeah, I don't think this is I don't think this is a slow transition.
No.
To Feige leading it all. I think if anything, I think it's possible that Feige, certainly Feige can do whatever he wants at Disney. He's made them all of the money. And I mean, I think he's somebody who I think could one day be, the next Bob Iger,
right,
or the next Alan Horn.
It is interesting in that sense to think about, like, if people are suggesting a transition, it's like a transition to what? The show's almost over, folks. Like, what would he be inheriting, unless it's kind of like an audition for Indiana Jones, which is another sacred property on the line.
Oh boy.
And I mean, I think that's in the cards. I often wonder if Lucasfilm's going to take kind of this gung-ho year-round marketing blitz once they start to get into the Indiana Jones saga.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where that stands. They're developing a script for 5 with Harrison Ford, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's
yeah.
I mean,
which I assume will be a handoff to.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
It's got to be. But that franchise is also, it's going to be really interesting how they sustain it, because we're really getting sidetracked. But it's like Indiana Jones, to me, it struggles as soon as you take it out of the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's something so nostalgic and fun and interesting about it, and they've made the point over and over and over again that they will not recast Harrison Ford.
Mm-hmm.
And which I think is funny, because it's like, well, you just tried that.
Yeah.
To mix
well,
that's
why they're saying it now.
Right. It seems like a sort of tacit acknowledgement of how it went when they tried. But I mean, they've kind of always said that, and I think it's interesting, and I wonder if it's the right move or the mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at, Indiana Jones was Lucas and Spielberg's answer to doing their version of a James Bond movie, which is famously something that recasts every few films.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of this like,
yeah.
But that's also perennially modern day. It's always, Bond is always like in the present or a few years in the future,
mm-hmm.
whereas there's something about
it doesn't work.
You don't see people doing adventuring in the style of Indiana Jones in the 1970s. That
I don't
want to
see Indiana Jones wearing bell-bottom jeans.
Right. So it'll be interesting what they do with that franchise, and if they find a way to, how they navigate it. It's got to be really tricky to write.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that Disney building this kind of pool and Lucasfilm building this pool, like Kevin Feige, like, I think that they're kind of ensuring their future by saying, hey, we're going to start working with these people in other capacities. We know the saga is over. We have this Star Wars world. I mean, the potential for just new original series is huge. Also, Disney Plus now is a major distribution platform. So, I mean, if you want to hook people into say, hey, we not only have great TV shows, but we have these amazing one-off movies, like, who else better to get than to produce with Kevin Feige?
Yeah, I mean, Disney's expanding, and their talent pool is stacked. So, Chris, okay.
Yeah.
We've talked about what we want to see from Benioff and Weiss.
Mm-hmm.
We're thinking KOTOR, thinking Knights of the Old Republic.
Sure.
We've talked about what we're excited from Rian Johnson, pushing into the new, going farther out.
Yeah.
Outer Rim. Where are we going? What's happening with that with Broom Kid? What do you want to see from what do you any predictions? I mean, this news literally broke. Like we're recording this in the morning. This broke last night.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to see?
I mean, I would love to see him do something with kind of. It might sound weird, but like time travel.
Oh.
Almost
okay.
across, like, I know we just got it with Endgame, but almost kind of like a visit through different realms of the Star Wars world. Some kind of I don't know, like Doctor Who type character or something like that. I think would be fun and perhaps fitting, because I think it pulls from like kind of comic book superhero lore, and it also gives them the opportunity to put these kind of characters in many different situations.
Interesting.
And almost like a tie together for everything that happens in Star Wars.
That would be okay. That's
imagine Back to the Future, but it's Star Wars. So you have a character that's like, he doesn't think he's at the right place, and then he gets thrown back in time. Then he realizes that he has to fix the future somehow.
Interesting. Well, so here's what I like. I mean, that's totally a different direction than I would go. I'm very wary of bringing time travel into Star Wars at all. I think a lot of people are. I wonder if he could pull it off another time after after the Marvel phases 1 to 3,
right?
But what I like, you threw out Back to the Future, and I think that's what I'd like to see, or what would be exciting about a Feige Star Wars, is that that sort of that romp feel that you get from, like, the Marvel movies are, they're fun. They're popcorn and candy. They're bright. They're chirpy. They're funny. They're quippy, and it's something that I think that the latest Star Wars movies, for better or for worse, have been fairly self-serious. I mean, I think Solo really tried to have some comedic beats, but hot take, I rewatched Solo on the plane.
Okay.
Bottom of the list.
Wow.
I think it might. It's neck and neck with Clones.
Wow.
It's a bad movie, I think.
Wow.
Hot take.
Yikes.
I really struggled. I barely got through. I had to watch it in 3 parts. I was so bored. I don't think it's a good movie.
If it's bottom of your list, then that means it's the second bottom, or the third bottom for Ryan, then. If you said it's neck and neck with Clones. By that logic, if we're doing the math here,
if he equates it the same way, that'd be right. That'd be right. No, I think it's pretty. It was rough. It was a rough set. Sorry, that was a sidebar, but I want to see Kevin Feige do that, tonally, something very much a Back to the Future. Where it's it's fun, it's silly, it's a little campy, but it's just tight and it moves. Yep. That would be great.
I know what I don't want. I don't want it to be like. I feel like Star Wars is kind of getting stuck in this. It has to be tied to military. You know what I mean? Like rooted to this kind of. I know the series. I know it's called Star Wars. I know it's Wars, but I would love us to get out of that a little bit, and maybe a story where the stakes are different than two armies trying to fight each other. Yeah.
No, I think that's good. It's interesting. Man, I guess as we're talking about it, I'm thinking what I want out of Star Wars right now, and what I think Kevin Feige could be really, really well slotted to give us, is the sort of movie I wanted Solo to be, which is a fun side romp of a story that's set in a world where we know it's a larger world, we know what's going on, but first steps into a larger world, where we know what's going on and we know the background is war, but yeah, maybe it's not about war. I think there's going to be plenty of, if we get a Knights of the Old Republic series, and I think Rian Johnson is probably someone who's interested in exploring a galaxy at war, and I think he's maybe the man to do that. Although, who knows? He's such a varied and talented director. Every one of his films is different, so. I'm signed on for him, whatever he does. I'm signed on for Feige, whatever he does.
Yeah.
Who's going to touch, do we think, the Jedi? I think one of the projects in development is going to deal with the Jedi, and I think the other two probably are not.
Right. Yeah.
What do you think?
I think if we do go back to any kind of Jedi lore or anything, I think one of the coolest things about the Jedi religion is how mysterious it actually is. So I do think this is an instance where we should not over-explain how the Force works, or the characters can have a strong knowledge of what Force powers are, but I don't think we should know what they all are, right? There should be surprise. That's why Last Jedi was so great. It's like, holy cow, you can do Force projection. Like, I think that is sacred ground for Star Wars, and they shouldn't be exploring that too much. That's not to say I think that Yoda has lots of territory, as he is the Master Force Wielder. I could see a young Yoda story. I know you may not be with me on this, but I think that's also something Kevin Feige could explore, is like a Yoda evolution story, because he is 900 years old. He was a warrior, a Jedi Knight. I think a young Yoda that's spry. I mean, some of the best bits of Ryan's third favorite Star Wars movie are the Yoda kind of fighting stuff. I think it would be interesting. He obviously is a wise character, but to see him get wisdom, I think would be fun.
I mean, there's definitely to me, honestly, yeah, I'm not sure. To me, that's a book I want to read.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? And
yeah.
I don't mean that to be like flippant or something. That doesn't excite me as much as a movie. I'd be worried that I'd be too worried that it would do the Solo thing of like, well, why is he called Yoda? Oh, look, this is where he learned how to say his speech backwards.
Hey, yo, you over there, duh. Yoda.
Well, I mean, look,
yeah,
it's exciting times.
It really is.
There's some really cool stuff coming. I'm excited that this probably means we're going to see Chris Hemsworth and Chris Evans and Chris Pratt and all the Chris's and maybe Chris Pine in Star Wars. No,
we'll get them all.
Let's get the 4 white Chris's together. No, that's a joke. But Chris Hemsworth would be great in Star Wars. That's not really a joke. I think it's exciting times. I think there's some really good stuff coming. If folks out there, you know where to find us. We're at DroidsPod on Twitter, at DroidsPod on Instagram, the Droids Podcast on Facebook, or droidspod@gmail.com. Hit us up. What do you think? What do you think about a Feige movie? What do you think he's going to cover? What do you want to see each of these as we're getting more and more sort of nuggets of what projects are in development? Which ones excite you the most? What are you hoping for? Tell us who's going to cast this thing, direct this thing. Are Marcus and McFeely going to write it? Are the Russo brothers going to do a Star Wars?
Oh, wow.
Who knows?
The brothers, Star Wars. Hey, Sam, before we leave, have you ever had the Star Wars Vader Immortal experience with the Star Wars VR series?
No, I have not.
Me neither, but ILMX Lab just announced surprise release of Vader Immortal, a Star Wars versus VR series. Sorry, I can't read. Episode 2 for the Oculus Connect just came out. A surprise episode 2 came out yesterday. It's pretty cool.
We all know that episode 2s are always my guilty pleasure. So
there you go. So we got to get you. Maybe you can just play it in not VR. Maybe it'll be you'll see. Maybe you'll see some of the seams. Chris
knows that Chris is very aware how resistant I am to VR. I do not like it.
I think it would be terrifying though. Is this something people want? Is to like sit in a room with Vader? Like, wouldn't that be just horrifying?
Chris, how much do you use your PSVR set?
I'm wearing it now. I wear it on my way to work. I'll tell you what's dangerous: wearing it while driving, but it makes driving a lot more exciting. I'm interested in these. I hope they kind of condense the story, or maybe there's somewhere you can kind of see what the story is. But honestly, playing hide and seek with Vader does not sound like something I'm too appealing right now. Like. But
it's frightening in the same way that shark one you had.
It gives me a little bit of chills, and I'm worried maybe I'm not cut out for this whole VR thing. But it is cool of them to surprise release something, especially something of this high production value. Usually, when you get these surprises, they're kind of but this thing is
you haven't played it, you don't know how high the production value is.
Well, I mean, it's got to be something if it's VR. Oh yeah, that is true. But I'm sure it's a VR experience from
It's got to be something if it's VR. That's a good point. It's got to be something
because it's got to convince you. But so if you're fortunate to have an Oculus Quest or an Oculus Rift, jump in there. Let us know how it is. Vader Immortal Episode 2. It says he will not be denied. That sounds terrifying. So if you want to go play hide and seek with Darth Vader, get that. That just came out.
It's good, spooky, scary for Halloween.
That'd be fun. What about just what happened to like just a standard like Jedi trainer? Isn't that what we want to do in VR? Get the lightsaber.
I don't like VR. I don't want VR.
Okay. Well,
but yeah, Chris, I think what I want to do is, honestly, I think it's about stacking rocks, lifting rocks.
Ooh.
That's what it's about.
It's all about stacking rocks. Yeah, I think that'll do it. We have, maybe in the future here coming up, just keep everyone's ears tuned. We'll have some Tales from Galaxy's Edge. Some of our friends of the show have been visiting, and so we might get a little dispatch, so that's something to look forward to in the future. I had a friend that just went and did the Build a Lightsaber course. Is it a course? Do you get college credit for that?
Yeah, I think it's an accredited university.
It's an accredited university. He said it was a lot of fun. He built a very cool lightsaber. It's very custom. One thing he noted that all over the place is just kind of like Star Wars, like just pieces of ships and everything. They have the place top to bottom, just every little nook and cranny has something very specific to Star Wars, which is very cool. So still excited to get down there and check it out. Maybe this year, maybe next year. But we'll have some friends of the show who are visiting will give us some dispatches. We'll have more on that in future episodes. So
more on that, more on Lucas. We're gonna we're gonna get the whole band back together. We promise. That's our commitment to you, the listener, is to get all four of us back in the New York groove.
And there you go. Wow, we did it. Hey, welcome back, Sam. It was great to have you back.
It's great to be back, man. This was
guess
fun.
What? You're back on the pod. I don't know if you knew that. We were talking, and you made it back.
I knew I was on the block. I knew whenever I took the trip. But thanks. It's been fun talking, and I think that'll do it for this edition of the Droids You're Looking For, a Star Wars podcast.
What they throw?
Annie, you boys want to go to medieval Chewbacca?
You boys want to get on the VR? All right. Have
later.
fun.
Hey, later.
Bye.